Hey friends, it's the summer and my podcast schedule has gotten completely crazy. I'm not even in my podcast studio right now. I am tucked away in our master bedroom and I'm trying to get some work done. But if you have children at all and you have a summer break, you know how difficult it is to maintain a work schedule while the kids are off for summer break. So I just decided to look back through some of the messages that I've given throughout the years and really think about what have I heard the most feedback on and what message seemed to resonate with people so much. So for the next 3 tips in the month of July, it'll be tip 27, 28, and 29. I am going to cut up one of the messages that I gave several years called I Want to Be Different. I want to be different. And in that message, I give 3 tips 3 points that talk about how I applied getting over fear and anxiety differently in my life. And I hope and pray that these 3 points will hit you as well and help you if you are struggling with any type of fear and anxiety. So please enjoy the next 3 tips on I Want to Be Different.
In Fearless Tips and Talks, you will find wisdom and strength to overcome fear and anxiety in a world that feeds it.
Have you ever wished you had someone to coach you through stress and anxiety? Someone you could just pull out of your back pocket to give you a quick dose of wisdom and encouragement? Now you can. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Tips. I'm your host, Christy. So what does all this mean? You can't just be hearers. You must be doers on what you are learning. I'm going to challenge you. Tonight you have a choice. You can listen to the words that I'm saying and you can walk right out of here and you can take action. You can study out what I've said for myself, or you can walk right out of here and say, she said some good things, but I'm too busy to put in the work, or whatever excuse you might have. Let me read something to you. This comes out of Joshua 1:8. Study this book of instruction continually. Study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. And don't be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. You know the truth? We can't afford not to put in the work, ladies. We are living in some crazy, ridiculous times. Do you want freedom from fear and anxiety? Then let me prescribe something to you, and it is not diffusing essential oils. It's God's word. And you know what's beautiful about it? You can't overdose on God's word.
That's good.
Thank you, Charlotte. You know what else? Spiritual, there's the good stuff, but practical, get therapy. I'll be so honest with you. I was in counseling for 2 solid years when I was going through all of this. Please go get the help you need. Danielle and Ches did a beautiful job, but go back to the resource table, check out the resources, check out the workshops to really dig in and just get the help you need. And you know what else helped? A good doctor. I think sometimes we're scared. I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't want to mess with the doctor. I don't want to do it. But I was blessed with an amazing doctor. And when he just told me, Christy, you have severe panic and anxiety disorder. He said, listen, I need you to get to the root of this problem, whatever is causing this right now, because here's what's going to happen. If you don't, you're going to come back in a month, and then I'm just going to have to up your prescription. And then you're going to keep going and it's not going to work anymore. And then you're going to come back and I'm just going to have to up your prescription even more. And that's just going to be the story. That's going to be your story. No, thank you. I don't want that for myself. So I did the work and I studied anxiety, depression, and fear, and I got some answers. I stepped aside, let God work, and then I did what I could on my end to cooperate with healing. Please, ladies, get help. Get help. Our wounds are real. I've bared my soul to you tonight. They're real. They're real. But I've been seeing this all over Instagram, and it's just so good. If we don't wind up getting help, we bleed on people that didn't cut us. Don't believe the lie that history must repeat itself. Fear is not your destiny. The truth is you were not given a spirit of fear. Now, does this mean I don't feel fear? I'm completely free from it. No, obviously, I just told you I had a freak out moment just a couple of weeks ago. I'm not completely fearless. And just in case you don't believe me, I have a picture to prove that I'm not fearless all the time. And yes, I have a fanny pack on, and I think it's okay. Who are my fanny pack friends? Yes! Woo, baby! I love it. I did not know there was gonna be that many fanny pack friends in here. Fearless needs to start selling fanny packs. That's it, we're doing it. So obviously, I've struggled with all kinds of different fears and anxieties, but you know what hit me the worst? It was in 2017. It was the fear of my purpose, or probably better stated, fear of the future. Anybody feel me? Here's the lie I was believing. You don't have what it takes to carry out your purpose in a meaningful way. You're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. You're not qualified enough. You are just not enough, Christy. Let me back up just a tick, okay? So do you know Fearless started as a blog? Yeah. Taking control of your anxiety.blogspot.com. I didn't even know that it started on Mother's Day weekend of 2011, and I felt the Lord speak to my heart, and he told me, write about your experience with severe panic and anxiety disorder. And I remember telling my husband, we were on the front driveway, I said, honey, I think God just told me that I'm supposed to write about my journey with fear and anxiety, and he's so amazing. You know what he says to me? Well, you better get on that. So I did. I put myself out there writing about my darkest moment that I showed you guys tonight. And you could not believe the responses I got back from people telling me, oh, thank you so much for sharing this. I'm struggling with this too. But the lies. You're not good enough. You're a bad writer. You have terrible grammar. People won't read your stuff. Circled my thoughts over and over. Then in 2013, I went to the Dare to Be conference with Natalie Grant, and they asked us at the end of the conference to write down, what do you dare to be, and drop it at the altar. So I wrote boldly, speak to women about fear and anxiety. And I dropped that hot piece of paper at the altar. And you know what happened? Really shortly after that, I got asked to speak at my church to talk to women about fear and anxiety. But the lies, you're not good enough. You're a bad speaker. You bore people to tears. You're not educated enough to teach the Bible. You didn't go to theology school. You're not a pastor. You can't talk and teach God's word. Who do you think you are? Circled my mind over and over and over. Then in the summer of 2015, I felt another prompting. Start a support group for women dealing with fear and anxiety. In September 2015, we had our first ever Fearless Women meeting in the St. Charles County Library with 36 women in it. Who was there? Yes. Then we became a non-for-profit, and it's been a wild ride since, and Fearless is growing rapidly, and it's only because God is in charge of it all. But the lies I was hearing is you're not good enough. You can't lead a non-for-profit. Who do you think you are? Only really important people start non-for-profits. Not some silly girl talking about anxiety. Nobody cares about your stupid cause. Non-for-profits are for big things like St. Jude's and United Way and Feeding America. Those thoughts circled and circled and circled. Here's what I've learned. There will always be opposition standing in the way of your purpose. Someone is here today and they're wrestling with starting what God has called them to do. It is time to step out, girlfriend. Start that business, start that coaching group, write that book, that workshop, that quilting class, or that Zumba class. It's time. You've been ignoring those promptings and that still small voice for too long. It's time. And you know, you and I, we're not here for our good, but for God's good. We're here to be God's hands and feet, to love and share the good news, to comfort for those who have comforted us. That's what we're here for. That's why God had me start Fearless. He knows that through the power of my testimony, his glory will shine. Do you know when I first felt called to start Fearless in 2015, cray story, I reached out to some spiritual mentors in my life to get their advice. And I just told them, I'm really feeling like I'm supposed to start this group. And you know what their advice to me was? You need to aim longer before you fire. It crushed me. It devastated me. They basically told me that I wasn't ready to start what God was calling me to do. And I went home to my husband and I was just crushed. And I was just telling him about how sad I was about all of this. And he just said, whoa, wait a minute. And I felt him pray. And he just prayed for a second. And he looked right in my eyes and he said, nope. If you aim too long, you'll miss. It's time to start that group. So we started Fearless. What's the point? Here's the point. Well-meaning people can steer you in the wrong direction, but the voice of God never will. That's the point. Christy, get back to 2017, would you? Sorry, I'm here now. All right. 2017 was the hardest year of my life when it comes to relationships and conflict and opposition. I'll be honest with you. It almost wiped me out. And that's exactly what the enemy wanted. I have more wisdom highlights from 2017 than I've ever had before. For real, I'm on a 3-week rotation of L'Oreal Excellence. It's excellent, all right, because it covers these wisdom highlights right up. The opposition was the strongest yet in 2017 against Fearless, and not because we were unbiblical, not because we were doing anything wrong, but because the enemy wanted to bring us down, stop us from the good work that God was doing. The enemy used people. People aren't your enemy. The enemy is the enemy. The enemy used people to manipulate and distort truth, which led to a fallout, and Troy and I had to find a new church home. Then, as these lies and manipulation spread further, people thought, the people that we thought would always have our back because of years and years of deep, intimate friendship, we found out that, in fact, they did not support us. So we had to make a painful decision and put up boundaries and change the level of access they had to our hearts, our broken hearts. Then, to put the cherry on top, God called me away from the photography business that I was running. I loved this business, absolutely loved this business, and I was doing it with my dear, dear friend to move into full-time ministry. And as if that wasn't hard enough, he also called me to walk away from it, lay it down. I walked away from a successful, booming business that I started with my dear partner that we built from nothing to something with nothing. As we close tonight, I want to have the worship team come on back up. And I want to remind you of Joshua 1:8. The commentary on it is so powerful that I have to share it with you. And I put in my own little flare nuggets too, but many people think that prosperity and success come from having power and influence and personal contact and relentless desire to get ahead. And I'll put fame and notoriety and material things and money and wealth and all of those things in there too. But God taught Joshua here what I believe I was supposed to learn in 2017, what I hope you're learning here tonight, which also helped me conquer my fear and stop the lies that I was believing. It's 4 quick things if you're taking note. It's 1, to be strong and courageous even when the going gets tough. Do you know he says that 3 times in the passages? 3 times in that passage. It must be super important to be strong and courageous. Number 2, obey God above all else. And the opinions of man should never be higher than the opinions of God. 3, to be successful, follow God's word. All of it. Not just the parts that you kind of like. All of it. The world's way of doing things is often not God's way of doing things. True success is defined by obedience to God. And lastly, when following God, I don't have a reason to fear. The Lord my God, your God, is with you wherever you go. Even when we're our most healthy, it's absolutely crazy to think we'll never feel fear again. We'll still feel fear, anxiety, and we may even battle with bouts of depression. But it's what we choose to do in those moments that define us. Will you walk forward tonight and surrender? Let God be the superhero of your story. Will you remember that your past does not define you and that history does not need to repeat itself? Will you stop fearing the future and know that He has a mighty plan for you, sweet friends? Will you walk forward in confidence even if you feel fear, knowing that the God of angel armies is by your side? When fear strikes, will you strike back and say, "Whom shall I fear?"
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Fearless Tips and Talks. We hope you enjoyed the insights and advice shared today. If you love what you heard, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We'd also really appreciate it if you would take a moment to rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continuing to allow us to bring the best content possible to you. Hey, and we want to hear from you. Check out the show notes and use the fan mail feature labeled "Send us a text message" to share your thoughts, ask questions, or let us know what topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Remember, a life of no fear isn't the goal, but you can learn to fear less. We hope this podcast helps you achieve that. See you next time.